Welcome to Live Interactive English. Hello, everyone. I am Mike.
And I am Karen. Today we are looking at an interesting article called The Salty Story of the Dead Sea. Ooh, the salty story of the Dead Sea. Well, we all know that Dead Sea is very, very famous. So let me ask you, Mike, have you ever been to the Dead Sea?
I have never been to this part of the world.
No.
Of course, never been to, generally we might say, the Holy Land, Israel, Jordan, Lebanon. Never been there. It's a part of the world where there's often political trouble and fighting and conflict and stuff like that. So maybe now might not be the best time to go. But I have always wanted to go. It's a place filled with thousands of years of history. Of course, one of the reasons they have political problems is that this part of the world is important to 3 of the world's major religions. And so it is filled with amazing culture, amazing history, and it is also a spectacular part of the world. Maybe not beautiful in the way you might think, very dry, very rocky, but still very, very impressive, very, very spectacular. And a place I would love to go to, and hopefully I will one day. And I'd love to go to the Dead Sea. How about you?
Me too! Because I saw videos of the Dead Sea and it looks beautiful and it looks like so much fun.
It does.
And we're going to tell you how fun it is during our article today.
Yes, absolutely. So it is definitely a place to put on your bucket list if you're interested in it. One of the most unique sort of water experiences you could ever have in your life. And that's why it's a big part of what we're going to be talking about as we learn the salty story of the Dead Sea. I think I'll bring some potato chips to dip in.
That would be fun.
Located near the deserts and mountains of Jordan, Israel, and the West Bank, the Dead Sea is truly a place like no other. No animals are able to survive in its water because it is 9 times saltier than seawater. That's why the Dead Sea has its strange name. Surprisingly, the Dead Sea is not actually a sea, it's a landlocked lake. When rain falls, the water picks up salt from rocks and carries it into the lake. Since water in the Dead Sea has no way of flowing into an ocean, it stays in the lake until it evaporates. All right, here we are with the salty story of the Dead Sea. Sometimes a salty story might be if your friends are, being tricky with each other. You might tell the gossip and tell the rumors and tell what you've heard. Did you hear? Did you hear about this? It's not that kind of story. It's a salty story because the Dead Sea is a very salty body of water. So that's why we're giving it the title of The Salty Story of the Dead Sea. We're not going to be talking about how the Dead Sea is cheating on the Sea of Galilee and seeing the River Jordan behind his back, or, it's nothing like that. It's just about the Dead Sea, which is the saltiest sea or body of water in the whole world.
Okay, well, let's learn about it. Located near the deserts and mountains of Jordan, Israel, and the West Bank, the Dead Sea is truly a place like no other. So this sentence is telling us where it is located geographically, and it's truly a place like no other because we're talking about it's very, very salty, even saltier than the ocean, right?
Absolutely, much saltier than the ocean.
Okay, so we're talking about this word here, a desert, and that is a noun. A desert is a large area of land that is very dry and has little to no plants growing. It's often sandy and hot, like the Sahara Desert. An example sentence would be, the Atacama Desert is the driest place on Earth.
Yeah, it gets like a millimeter of rain or something every year. That's all. So yes, it's a very hot, very dry place. So as we read on, this all makes sense. No animals are able to survive in its water, in the water of the Dead Sea, because it is 9 times saltier than seawater. That is pretty salty. I mean, anyone who's gone swimming in the ocean and tasted the salt water, the seawater, it's quite salty. salty, 9 times saltier than that. Oh my gosh, that is super salty. And of course, that is why it says that's why the Dead Sea has its strange name. So it's not going to kill you if you go in. You don't want to be drinking the water, but it's a dead sea because you'll find no fish swimming around in it, no frogs hopping around in it, and probably also no plants growing in it, no seaweed or anything like that. It is just way too salty for things to live. And when we describe something as salty, this is probably not a surprise to you. It's an adjective that means it's got a lot of salt. That's all. So if you like salty snacks, you might like French fries and potato chips and things like that. Often when we describe food, we put salty on one side and sweet or sugary on the other side. I know my wife and I, whenever we go to see a movie, there's always a little fight, not a fight, a disagreement. I want salty popcorn. I want sweet popcorn. I like the salty stuff with salt on it. So
you don't get both? I
get
both.
We usually just get a small one each. So okay. Happy. But yeah, we often use this to describe not only seawater, but food as well, right? So you might say, oh, the food is a little too salty. You put too much salt in, maybe put in some lemon juice or something like that to balance it out, because salty just means having salt or having lots of salt. For example, the water in the sea is too salty to drink.
That's right.
You can drink it, but it's not good for you, and it certainly will make you more thirsty.
Exactly. Just like the water in the Dead Sea is way too salty, right?
Too salty.
Okay, how about let's go to Hanny first, and we will be right back.
Good for my French fries, though.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。今天的课程是关于死海为何让人漂浮。死海是位于约旦、以色列和西岸的沙漠跟山脉附近，没有任何动物能在它的水中存活，因为它比海水咸上9倍。好，单字 salty 它是形容咸的。其实，在口语当中 ，salty 它还可以描述生气的、不高兴的，或是有恼羞成怒的意思。再来 desert 它是沙漠的意思。Karen 老师在解释单字时提到 sandy。在 sand 后面加 y 可以构成形容词，表达铺满沙的或是多沙的。在讲到死海的地理位置时 ，Karen 老师用到 geographically， 则是表达地理上或是地理学地，是个副词。好，这边还有一个重点是 A 加上 be 动词倍数，加上形容词比较级 than B， 后面还可以加上 be 动词，这是表达 A 是 B 的多少倍。那么倍数是可以用数字加上 times 表达，而句型里面 B 后面那个 be 动词，如果跟 A 相同的话，它就可以省略掉。例如 ，Their campus is 3 times larger than ours。他们的校园是我们的3倍大。介绍课文中。
All right, we are back. So let's find out how the Dead Sea became so dead and, of course, so salty.
Okay, well, let's find out. Surprisingly, the Dead Sea is not actually a sea, all because of its name. So a lot of people would assume that it's a sea, right?
Yeah.
But it's not a sea. It's a landlocked lake. Oh, so it's actually a lake. When rain falls, the water picks up salt from rocks and carries it into the lake. And that is the reason why the Dead Sea is very, very salty, right?
Very interesting.
When the rain falls, the water picks up the salt and then it goes into the lake. So more and more rain, that means more and more salt.
Very interesting. Also kind of strange. They don't just call it the Dead Lake. They've added the word sea to it. But yes, if you look at it on a map, it is quite small. It's right next to the Mediterranean Sea, which is way bigger. But it is actually more like a lake. And it says, since water in the Dead Sea has no way of flowing into an ocean, it stays in the lake until it evaporates. So it's like a giant bowl, and all this water flows in. It's hot, it's dry. Remember, it's in a desert. And of course, you guys know from science class, when you have hot, dry weather, the water kind of disappears into the air, and the things that were in the water, these minerals, this salt and other crystals, they're left behind, making it saltier and saltier. Very, very interesting. All right, let's go over to Hanny, and then we'll be back.
课文提到，死海其实不是海，它是一个内陆湖。当下雨的时候，雨水会从岩石中带走盐分，再带入湖中。而死海里面的水没办法流入海洋，只能留在湖里，直到蒸发。好，补充单字 landlocked， 它是形容内陆的，被陆地包围的。 Evaporate 是动词，表示蒸发，使蒸发挥发。那它就是由字首一向外加上 vapor 蒸汽，然后加上动词字尾 ate 表达使什么什么所组成的。那我们接着回到课文中。
And we are back. So we learned some interesting facts about the Dead Sea and the reason why it's very, very salty. But I think we're going to find out some more interesting things about it after the break, right? After the second part of our article.
Yeah, I need a glass of water. As the water turns into vapor, it leaves the salt it was carrying in the lake. Therefore, the Dead Sea gets even saltier. The lake's high salt content also means that people float when they swim in it. People have been known to lie back in the water and read a newspaper, as though they were relaxing on a couch. Every year, more than 800,000 people visit the Dead Sea so that they can experience this unique place for themselves. Okay, welcome back. So we're learning all about the Dead Sea and kind of how it became dead and also how it's not really a sea. It's more like a lake in a dry and hot place where water flows in, but it never flows out. So the water just sits there and gets saltier and saltier.
That's right. Well, let's learn more interesting things about the Dead Sea.
Yeah.
As the water turns into vapor, it evaporates, right? And turns into vapor.
Yep.
It leaves the salt it was carrying in the lake. And then you mentioned that before. And that's why it becomes saltier and saltier.
Yeah, you could probably do this yourself. Get a little plate, put some salt water in it, leave it in the sun for a day or two. That water will dry off, and then you'll have lots of salt left behind on the bottom of the plate.
That's right. And that's why it says, therefore, the Dead Sea gets even saltier. Wow. So saltier and saltier. So you will definitely not see any animals drinking water from it.
I think there's areas around Taiwan, maybe down by Tainan, down by the ocean, and they build a little pool. The seawater comes in, then it flows out, and then the water evaporates, and that's how we used to get salt. People used to dig salt out of the ground when they could in a mine, like gold or coal, or if you live near the ocean, you could make salt pans and create salt that way. So that's been used for a long time. It's just the Dead Sea is really good at it. It says the lake's high salt content also means that people float when they swim in it. And I know this was one thing that you were particularly interested about, and
because I'm not a good swimmer.
Well, there you go. Very excited to try. But yeah, that salt actually kind of lifts you up, lifts your body up, makes the water a little bit, what we would say, denser. So you just float very high in the water without paddling, without kicking your legs, without holding on to anything. You float in this very, very salty water.
So that means it's impossible to drown in the Dead Sea.
Yeah, and I think even if you put your head underwater, I mean, your eyes would probably sting, right? With all
that's
that
right.
salty water. So I think even trying to swim in it would be not a great idea, but floating, perfect.
That's right. Okay, and you mentioned the lake's high salt content. Okay, so content, that is a noun. That is the amount of a particular substance contained in something. So for example, you could say chocolate has a high fat content. Or an example sentence would be the sugar content of many fruit juices is quite high. And that is true.
Absolutely. And in the Dead Sea, because of this high salt content, as we mentioned, it is very easy for people to float.
That sounds so fun.
And when you float, you're kind of being suspended. You're kind of hanging in some kind of place. We can float in the water if you're very good at swimming, or you just sort of rest and gently use the surface of the water. Birds or ducks, I should say, ducks and geese that can swim, they float. Boats float. A piece of wood, if you put it in the water, most types of wood will sit on the surface of the water. They won't sink. And in the same way, in the air, we can think of a balloon floating in the air or something like that. It's not moving, it's not flying, it's just kind of hanging or sitting. It's being held up by the air in the same way that our bodies would be held up by the salty water in the Dead Sea. Here's another example. We floated down the river in a small boat. Yes, unless your boat is a submarine that is designed to go underwater, all boats should float. If they don't, you got a problem. And your name might be Jack or Rose, and it might be the Titanic. All right, let's go over to Hanny.
刚刚说死海里的水无法流入海洋，只能留在湖里直到蒸发。当水变成水蒸气时，它所携带的盐分就会留在湖里，于是死海就变得越来越咸。那它的盐分含量高，意味着你在里面游泳时就会浮起来了。好，单字 content 名词，它表示含量、成分，是做不可数用。Float 动词，它表示漂浮或是使漂流、飘动。补充一下 ，Mike 老师刚刚有聊到台湾沿海地区的盐田，那么 salt pan 就可以表达盐田或是有盐盘的意思。接回到课文中。
And we are back. So let's continue with our article. People have been known to lie back in the water and read a newspaper as though they were relaxing on a couch. That sounds like so much fun. I actually saw videos of people actually in the Dead Sea doing that, and then it's like effortless. They're just floating there, reading a book. Doesn't that sound fun?
It does sound. I mean, you can float in water, but you kind of have to kick, and you know, it might come up to your neck, and you're kind of doing this, but this is really lifting you up like a couch, like you're almost sitting in the water.
That's right. It's a great way to relax, and that is a verb. So to relax means to become less tense, worried, or stressed, or to rest and enjoy yourself. It can also mean to make something less tight or strict. But right here, we're talking about making your body feel really relaxed and cool and calm and enjoy yourself. An example sentence would be, my local park is a nice place to relax on a sunny day. I just like sitting maybe on the bench and enjoy the weather.
Very, very nice. And of course, this is such a unique and special and very strange place in the world. You would think that lots of people want to visit. You would be right. It says every year more than 800,000 people visit the Dead Sea so that they can experience this unique place for themselves. And when you see where it is on a map, in the middle of the desert, not near any big city, I'm sure you have to take a bus there and it takes some time. So that's quite a large number of people visiting. Almost 1 million people go there to float in the Dead Sea, read a newspaper, and get a picture of themselves. I think the other thing is that after you get out, you need to shower.
Oh, that's
you
right.
You don't want all that salt on your body. So.
And what if you have cuts?
Ooh,
then it would definitely
ouch.
sting.
That
so make
could
sure
sting.
you don't go inside with some cuts on you.
Good point. I never thought of that. All right, let's go over to Hanny one more time.
同学们也许有看过这样的照片，人们躺在死海的水面上看报纸，就像在沙发上一样放松。好，那么看单字 relax 是动词，它表示放松，使放松轻松。Karen 老师解释单字时提到 effortless， 则是形容不费力气的、轻松的。这边还有一个重点。As though 或者是 as if 加上主词加动词，它表示好像、仿佛。所引导的子句有2种情况。第一种情况是在描述与事实相反或不可能发生的情况时，子句要用假设语气。例如 ，Dave's mom still treats him as though he were a child. Dave 的妈妈仍然把他当成小孩一样对待。那第二个情况是描述事实或可能发生的情况，这个子句要用直说法，也就是时态是依所描述的时间而定。例如 ，Anita looks as if she hasn't slept for days. Anita 看起来好像好几天没睡觉了。那我们接着回到课文中。
And we are back. So, you know, the Dead Sea sounds like a fabulous and wonderful place to visit. I would definitely go there one day. And because of the beautiful scenery and the cool fact about it is that you can just float without swimming. I never have to worry about drowning.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool that this is a natural place that is very unique. There's only one place in the whole world that you can go and experience something like this. So if you feel like having a bit of an adventure, and you don't mind being in somewhere hot, dry, and very sunny, the Dead Sea might be a wonderful place to add to your next vacation.
That's right. Okay, well, how about let's review the article again, and we'll see you guys next time, maybe in the Dead Sea.
Shalom. Located near the deserts and mountains of Jordan, Israel, and the West Bank, the Dead Sea is truly a place like no other. No animals are able to survive in its water because it is 9 times saltier than seawater. That's why the Dead Sea has its strange name. Surprisingly, the Dead Sea is not actually a sea, it's a landlocked lake. When rain falls, the water picks up salt from rocks and carries it into the lake. Since water in the Dead Sea has no way of flowing into an ocean, it stays in the lake until it evaporates. As the water turns into vapor, it leaves the salt it was carrying in the lake. Therefore, the Dead Sea gets even saltier. The lake's high salt content also means that people float when they swim in it. People have been known to lie back in the water and read a newspaper, as though they were relaxing on a couch. Every year, more than 800,000 people visit the Dead Sea so that they can experience this unique place for themselves.
最后，我们来复习今天课文里的单字文法。单字的部分有 salty 形容咸的 ，desert 是名词表示沙漠 ，content 也是名词表示含量或成分 ，float 动词它表示漂浮，使漂流飘动。再来看到 relax 是动词，它表示使放松轻松。而文法的部分，我们第一个学到 A 加上 be 动词加倍数加上形容词比较级 than be， 后面可以再接一个 be 动词，这是表达 A 是 B 的几倍。那么倍数是可以用数字加 times 去表达。那句型里面 be 后面的 be 动词如果跟 A 相同，就可以省略掉。第二个文法重点学到 as though 或者是 as if 加主词加动词，它表示好像仿佛。所引导的子句有两种情况，第一个就是描述跟事实相反或不可能发生的情况时，子句用假设语气。那第二个当描述事实或可能发生的情况时，子句要用直说法，时态是依所描述的时间而定。好，那以上今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Hey Shane, you won't believe what happened yesterday. I was going grocery shopping when I bumped into my favorite singer right there in the same aisle.
No way, that's amazing.
Yeah, I know, right? So I went over to say hi, and guess what? She recognized me. Pretty cool for a fan, huh?
Yeah, this is starting to sound a little bit like a fish story.
A fish story? I didn't say anything about fish.
Yeah, fish story just means it sounds a little bit too good to be true.
Ah, you got me. I gave it away when I said she recognized me, right?
Yeah, I almost bought it though.
Aww. Hi everyone, today we're talking about the phrase fish story.
That's right. A fish story doesn't actually mean a story about fish. It refers to an exaggerated or unbelievable tale, usually told to impress others.
The phrase comes from the idea of fishermen exaggerating the size of the fish they catch.
And now it's used in all kinds of situations where the truth is bent to make a story sound more exciting.
Here's an example sentence. That's just a fish story. No way he met 3 celebrities in one day.
Or she says she won the lottery twice in 1 week. But I think that's just a fish story.
So remember, if someone tells you a tale that sounds way too perfect, it might just be a fish story.
That's right. And that's it for today's lesson.
We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.